How do I follow that? Honestly, tonight's just been brilliant. I love it. Every time I come to this event, I'm just always completely blown away. I think it's also, I don't know if you want to put this on your bio, Clive and Nick, but I think this might be the most international of the poetry nights I've been to. So that's a claim to fame. So I'm going to just get cracking, I suppose. This first piece is called Redline Lifestyle. A couple of you might have heard it. I figured a good place to start. This is my first ever featured slot in anything ever, by the way. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I only started writing just over a year ago. So it's all pretty fresh. And yeah, I wrote this piece. This was the first piece I ever wrote, but I could have written it yesterday because it's still relevant. Redline Lifestyle. When I was a kid, I used to get up in the night and steal crackers to eat under the stairs behind the bikes all the time until one night my father caught me snacking, but he didn't take them off me. Sent to bed, I'd tiptoe softly. And the breadline lifestyle's rife whilst mum's still holding shit together and dad's forever working elsewhere, sneaking round when miss whoever's got the funds to keep the bandits rolling. Flashing lights and spinning reels, and it feels like nothing changes. What's imagined and what's real, and now I'm 29 years old, I see things with a different view. I pulled the rose tints off my glasses, now my sight's no longer skewed. My mum did well despite the setbacks. 7 kids and while disabled, scraping by she kept it hidden while there's food there on the table, and we didn't even know we're poor before, too sure that she'd provide. And now the government are stripping back what's left of little pride. Kids all grown without a hope of owning homes and scraping off bare bones of what's left of our society, and quietly they have another try at me and all that came before would love the rich and fuck the poor. Austerity. Man, there'll be a Grenfell in every street until they've taken everything and handed it to Jacob, Reese, Mogg, foggy-eyed and foxy-tailed and robbing blind and Daily Mails and fixing votes and selling data. Yet another snowflake hater taking food from kids like taking candy from a baby. Meanwhile, Liz from M35 is sucking dick to make the ends meet. Man, that's the real postcode lottery. Because you got to be from AL3 to see 3 kids who mean the world become what they were meant to be. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm trapped inside a bubble. I should learn to work and pay my tax and stay away from trouble. I should have kept in line and paid my dues and waited to retire. When I'm 85 and dying and the wealth divide is higher, liars, cheats, fires, streets aligned with hired beats and private fleets of high-flying creeps that systematically monetize our daily lives as private entities for exploitative tendencies, because they'll hunt you down with perjuries like it's never-ending hide and seek. And the breadline lifestyle's rife whilst man makes money from every crisis. It's fucking lifeless. And I'm tired of this.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a little story about my childhood. The next piece is called Perfect Guy. So basically you'll find a pattern between my poetry. It's either about hating the Tories or about rejection and heartbreak. So you're in for a lovely, thrilling evening with Marley Talks. So this piece is called Perfect Guy. I could be your perfect guy if you're okay with lifting baggage. Now let me talk your fucking ear off. Eat my dinner like a savage. I pull the hair out of my face because I'm stressed. Is it so bad if I can't grab it by the neck and take a hold of where I am? If every hour's another window into purgatory, fall before me. Call more fours than I've heard before as you swing another onto the green farther than I've seen, but miss the putt because you're distracted by American dreams. But I could be your perfect guy. If all you're after is a smart-dressed, smart-assed, son of a guns-drawn misogynist, always kissed but never in public, and loved if you're never above lifting him up to where you were born to be, because sometimes I lay face down on the floor. To me, security is more than locks on doors, it's feeling grounded. And my heart's pounded faster these few months than ever before. You'll find me pushing heavier weights than I can physically lift, because I need you to see that I'm physically fit in case you tripped and hit the subliminal switch that said I could never protect you. Well, isn't that it? Isn't that it? But I could be your perfect guy. If you hear me talk of politics and see I care for others, not an out of sight and mind type of guy, fly by concerns. I might have learned to put humanity first and turned words into actions. Man, if he yearned for me the way he yearns to see a peace in the world, he could have had a piece of this girl, or at least a few evenings together. Rocking the boat like ripples make waves, washed over to save freedom of slaves, hunger and thirst, but number the days it takes to break chains. So that I've heard, but I could be your perfect guy. If you don't mind that sometimes I have a tendency to speak before I think and drop the bar a little lower. Oh man, I didn't read the crowd this time. Did he say that aloud this time? It's meant with such sincerity, but it's met with lower brows. You'll find me wanting to be near you. I'll be stuck like a sore thumb, but I can't sit still for 5 seconds if there's something to be done. But I could be your perfect guy. If you can thwart the misconceptions, because I could go for miles and take you if you head in my direction. I'd be correct in my affections and direct to recollect the tensions, because I could be your perfect guy.
Wow.
If you're not looking for perfection.
Love it.
So this is a new piece I wrote this week, and in order to make it so that it doesn't offend anyone, I've developed this this character that I call like generic Tory voting Englishman, and I decided to give him an accent that's kind of like an amalgamation of every accent in the UK, just so that I can get away with doing it and it doesn't sound like I'm pointing the finger at any particular group of individuals from within the UK. So it's called I Want to Be a Tory. I want to be a Tory, but I can't bend over because me gut's too big, and I've not been sober since the 1960s at the World Cup final, since they closed the mines and we marched on Whitehall. I want to be a Tory, but I can't bend over because I've chronic back pain, and my wife can't either, and the NHS can't fit me in till April because they don't speak English, but they're lovely people, but they've got our jobs, and all we want is equal, not this feminism BLM malarkey. There were none of that when we marched in my day. I want to be a Tory, but I can't bend over because I'm not a bender, and I'm scared of genders I don't recognise, because we need our toilets with distinctive signs so we don't get beat up by men in skirts and girls in shirts and other perverts lurking buildings, because we've gone too soft and we're brainwashed children. I want to be a Tory, but I can't bend over and admit I'm wrong, because what about our soldiers when they sent our boys to fight the fascist armies? Is this what they fought for? Bunch of Marxist Nazis with your socialism and your avocados and your halal meat and your mental illness? We worked down the pits and it never killed us. I want to be a Tory, but I can't bend over. But my good friend Rupert says that I can trust him because we both work hard and he pays me money when I clean his windows, and he says I'm funny. And he's got nice boots on. Reckon I could fit them. But I can't bend over, so I can lick them. Thank you. So back on the theme of heartbreak. This piece is called Telescope. It's one of my favorite pieces. I think I performed this in the Slam when I first came to Oooh Beehive. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. I'm just looking through my telescope at alternate universes, ones where I'm free from humanity's curses, because I'm not happy with being so trapped on this earth. And what's worse is I know somewhere out there's an alternate us. It's hard to believe inconceivable truths, but I feel in my soul that there's a happier you, and so I'm questioning everything that I do, because somewhere I'm doing it right and it's working. I lift my hand and press to yours, a mirror image. But this side of the glass shards pierce into my skin and I'm finished. And I'm brimming with deliberate mimics of other worlds. Feel like I'm spinning, hurled, skimming to winning this other girl. But every time I fall short, it's like I'm coming unfurled. And now I'm getting pretty close to where I'm reaching my limit. So if there's a happier you, then am I even a feature? Or are you happier living in worlds of nature? Reach into the future and see how well I could treat you, because how could I be meant for someone else when I feel like I complete her and the timeline doesn't even make any sense? I'm bent back and forth like a pendulum meant to keep time, but I'm winding this key and you'll find the tick-tocking's a sound in my mind that's keeping me awake in the night, because I'm wondering why I had to be born into this reality. It's powerfully inconvenient. And now I feel the inconvenience. And wow, if I could see the reasoning, then I might be fine with knowing that you're happier somewhere. But it's somewhere I don't even believe in.
Yeah. I love that one.
Thank you. This is another relatively new one. I wrote it for, I did a Windrush themed evening for the Northamptonshire Rights and Equalities Council, and with the Revolt poet, who isn't here tonight, but he'll get a shout out because he's a good friend of mine. This piece is called Boxes of Chicken, and I wrote it in response to the Home Office deciding it was a good idea to put anti-knife crime adverts in chicken boxes because they like to be nuanced, double, triple, Inception style racist. So it's called Boxes of Chicken. We're slaves to ideology and consumption. It's selfish. We're slaves to thinking that we're better than anyone else's. We're slaves from when we wake up to the time that we sleep for being born into a system with no help for the helpless. We suffocate, asphyxiate, heart rate perpetuating hatred. We overwhelm, appropriate, degenerate for the sake of staying basic. Assimilate to any rate the whitewashed state to maintain power. Abbreviate, decelerate, propel the hate, their finest hour. The truth is our prime minister's a real racist. And Dave said it right when he used his platform to say this. And the problem isn't self-isolated when we're peeling back our history to see where the hate is. It takes 8 minutes, 46 seconds to put a man down. 8 minutes, 46 seconds, his head to the ground. 8 minutes, 46 seconds, spectators surround, and it ain't finished in a split second. So come gather round, because we've got a history as whitewashed as the paper I write on. Colonial, custodial, protecting the white ones. And if only you'll believe it when you're faced with the lives gone, you'll hashtag Black Lives Matter. But are you ready to fight, son? And I'm talking from a privilege that I don't debate. I hit the jackpot of the century, white, male, and straight. And I know my heart is meant to be my paled skin fate, because I know I couldn't live with being silent on hate, because when I grew up on my estate was always teeming with diversity. But I still remember the rejoicing when my first brown friend got into university. And thinking, why is it such a win? It seemed a little bit perverse to me. Absurdity is when the powers want the universe to be you versus me, because that's the way to keep the division. So they can make profit from the black lives tossed into prison. So they can bomb the Middle East and its imperialism. And we can all sit back and benefit from anti-knife crime missions stamped inside boxes of chicken.
Wow. That was amazing. Fucking hell. That
So
was
good.
great.
So good.
Thank you.
Outstanding, Mark.
No, okay. Wait, I've actually. How much time have I got? I don't know how much time I've got next.
Over to you, Clive. You're the timekeeper, I believe, tonight.
I think basically it will be as much as he wants, wouldn't it?
Well,
That's what I was working to. That's kind of where I was going.
for no reason.
Carry on, Marley. Go on.
I'll just keep going until someone stops me. Okay, so this piece is another new one that I wrote this week. I've been trying to get back into writing this week. I started writing at the beginning of lockdown. I'd completely lost track of everything, as everyone did, and you know, it was mental. But I started writing again recently, and I'm feeling a bit kind of energized. So I wrote this one. It's called "If I Get to Choose a Second Life," and it's based on a song by my favorite musician, who's called Andy Schoff. It's not actually based on a song. I basically took one line from it and then worked it from that. But it's called "If I Get to Choose a Second Life." If I get to choose a second life, could I come back as a comb so you could brush me through your hair again? Or maybe as your pillow so I could feel the softness of your cheek? A handkerchief to be there when you weep? A microphone to listen to you speak directly to my soul? A mirror pane to watch you growing old? Because if I could choose a second life, could I come back as a joke so I could be the reason for your smile? The cigarettes you smoke so you could breathe me in a while, and all the while become addicted so you'd find it hard to leave, and I'd be once again the cancer that you wished you'd never breathe. If I could choose a second life, could I come back as a doorway so that every time you pass me through, I'd know you did it your way, and feel your touch upon the frame, and when you held me open, know the courtesy and gratefulness you always would have spoken. Because if I could choose a second life, could I come back as your shoes so I protect you from the path you walk and save you getting bruised? And every time you take another route, a track that isn't beaten, I'd still use my soul to comfort, and I'd heal your weary feet, and then you'd have the opportunity to know that all I need was for you to take a little time to walk a mile in me.
Wow.
Oh, yes! That was amazing! Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
I love the
Wow.
visual of the soul in the shoe and the reference
Yeah.
to the inner soul. Oh my God, that was amazing.
Beautiful.
So this piece is, it comes with a little story. It's called Cider, which isn't really relevant to the story, but it's relevant to the poem. So basically, my dad's a bit of a wanker, and he disappeared when I was a kid. And the next time I saw him, about 15 years later, was when I opened up a newspaper and he was sent a page. He'd been arrested for breaking into someone's house, wielding a kitchen knife with a balaclava on and plastic bags on his feet. And he claims that he had a fugue state and that he didn't know what happened. So this poem is a little bit about that, called Cider. You put the fear in ethereal living. I'm struck twice from the side by the feelings I'm given, because I'll pine, wine and dine, walk the line, I'm in prison. But Folsom can't break me. Johnny's cash is temporary, because eventually I'll be put in life where it isn't, you see. I'll upset the apple cart like swerving's a talent. I'll fall far from the tree like throwing shade is a challenge. Crush, grind, press it, fermentation's the best bit, because I'll be selling cider like it's 10 grand a gallon. And this ain't a story about arrogance, power bent on revenants. I never want you bowing to my eminence. The evidence was clear from when I fell to rock bottom. Pips falling from my pockets, stopped dropping and trodden. But you see, a seed doesn't need sunlight to sprout. So while I'm down there in the pits of despair, I found the time for me to figure it out. You put the male in malevolence, pale and irreverent, forever and ever when forever wasn't ever meant. I'm talking A, B, and C, all the way to L and back again and fell again. If life's a journey, I can't see the relevance. And I'm not done with you yet. You still got answers to give. I suffered hard, obliviously or corroborative, and it's easy to live when you're creeping in the shadows like a snake on a hot day, but I'll be getting rattled when you're claiming a fugue state. Your face is looking weathered when I open the papers. Brace yourself, pacemaker, faker replacement takes 8 months just to make and break an engagement, make it a statement, sip a Saxby for the sake of curtailment. You put the other into motherland. At least I know there's something to discover. And you put the harm in pharmacy, plant a seed, a bitter pill to swallow when it doesn't grow a money tree. 15 years denied your son or your daughter. No loss to either. Now you put the laughter in slaughter, caught in the porch there, polyethylene footsteps where there ought to be laughter, because that's the kind of father I'm after.
Wow. Love it.
Thank
Love
you.
that.
So this piece is called Wilderness. I wrote it at the beginning of lockdown. Someone kind of challenged me to write something about lockdown, but I didn't want to go with the usual, this is why lockdown's so rubbish. So I came up with a bit of a slightly alternative angle called Wilderness. And when the virus came, you'd have been much safer with me. Man, I dare you to say I wasn't prepared for the days that were seen. Months of isolation. You know I'm not afraid of the streets. I've been forever in training for compassionate leads. So I've got a mind full of useful, useless tidbits. I take pride in that more than I care to admit. I'm not shy to be truthful with more than a spoonful of trials that will prove that I'm prepared for this shit. I'm not saying you're naive or that you need a man to guide you, but memories tease. I saw a weaker man beside you, and I wonder if he'll squeeze you when you're rolling in the night and in your mind's a fight between the light and darkness that you've been through. Does he even know the perfect place to tickle your back? Or imagine if he doesn't know the way you react. And I'm scared he hasn't figured out the touch of your waist that says, I'll never let you go. I got emotion for days. And I hope that he says the words that we overplayed. And when you laugh, I hope he knows when it's sincere or charade for the mistakes that he made or the ways he betrayed you. And I've said it before, I know it's well overplayed, but he can't keep you safe here in the wilderness. He wishes he could save you in the wilderness. But life isn't a game here in the wilderness. And he's a fucking player in the wilderness. I'll make fire rubbing sticks and use the friction between us. Each time I'm conflicting mad fiction between us. I'll regret that I'm the one who let the bricks come between us, but I'm fixed to say my memory clicks more than he does. I'm transfixed and ordinary, but I'm foraging colors. I'm heavy laden with a made in heaven knowledge of others. Have you met a guy who put his life on hold for his brothers, off the track forever, living, beg, borrow and cover? And I'll die without a penny, man, and covered in dust. But the corners of my mouth will curve and I'll remember us. He'll swerve responsibility and you'll get less than the best. Best believe his interests are best left to impress the undressed, because he can't keep you safe here in the wilderness. He wishes he could save you in the wilderness. But life isn't a game here in the wilderness. And he's a fucking player in the wilderness. Thank you.
Amazing stuff.
Okay, I think this is my last one. It's a 11:15, so I think you guys are probably at the point.
Beautiful.
And this is a piece that I've never performed live before, it's I always get told off for not writing funny stuff, so I tried writing something funny. The only people I think who have ever heard this are actually Clive and Nick, because I hung about at the end of one just to ask their opinion on it once before. So anyway, it's called Some People Call Me Freddy. Some people call me Freddy. I don't see the similarity, but yes, I am a poor boy from a poor family. I think I'm going slightly mad. It's not good for my sanity. I'm looking in the vanity and someone's staring back at me. I'm feeling under pressure to produce a kind of magic. I don't want to live forever, but to die young would be tragic. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm looking for the love of my life, but too much love will kill you. So to keep myself alive, I'll keep on living on my own until I find my killer queen. I'll be a good old-fashioned lover boy, if you're catching what I mean. It's a hard life for the great pretender, one who wants it all, but just don't stop me now. I have one vision. Let the hammer fall, and I'm a rhapsody for you and me that works for both of us. But if you tell me you're my best friend, I'm the one who bites the dust, because baby, I was born to love you. I won't ever let you down. And I believe it to be true that fat-bottomed girls really do make the world go round. I've never really understood why people do discreetly take a photo, leaving on the flash. Just come on up and greet me. I'm not a Mr. Bad Guy, and I will not rock you either. My mum says I'm from Mercury, but I just don't believe her. My life's an innuendo like a stick of Brighton rock. I've got the words all through my core, can't say the same though for my can't I visit pubs in peace, maintain some independence? Because people say I look really, really familiar, but I simply do not see the resemblance.
Clever.
You-
Brilliant. So clever.
Absolutely amazing. That's banging.
Brilliant.
Marley, you're the man.
Really
I
brilliant.
love that one, mate. That was.
So good.
I loved it when you did it in front of Clive and me after one of the events. But